WNST, Tau still in first place. Wizards very much in first place. We'll figure out what the Ravens are, and certainly the Orioles have had their health issues. But if there's one team that's fallen, and we're not sure if they can get up or not, it is the Maryland Terrapins. Ever since I left town, they have found it very, very hard to win basketball games. Mike Ashley covers all things Terps and is an incredible historian of all things Terps basketball. And probably a good thing, right, Ashley? We had the Lefty Driesell thing going on the last month. We've had the championship team over the weekend hailed amidst an ugly effort against Iowa. It's been a very, very choppy month for Turgeon and the Terps, huh?
Well, yeah, the last three games in particular have been, when you look at a little wider, 5 of the last 7 they've lost. And, we talked that they would have some trouble down the stretch on the road, but, this has been more at home, and it's bigger than just being a young kind of team. And but there were some highlights. The Lefty thing was just a great moment for anybody that's been a Terp fan, for a long time. And then for me personally, the Saturday with the teams, the Final Four teams coming back, that goes back to about when I started on the beat. And so I got to see a lot of guys that I hadn't talked to in a long time because, some have been playing in the NBA like Blake and Wilcox. And, Blake was always one of my favorites. I told him the crappy seats we have on press row at Maryland games at one end of the court, the only thing good I ever thought about that was back in the old Coalfield House days. I got to watch the second half over Steve Blake's shoulder and see what he was going to do with the ball. And then, for any basketball junkie, that was just heaven. So
yeah, Mouton was my favorite, by the way. So if I had to pick out a favorite, I loved watching Mouton on the floor.
Mouton was an energy guy, and everybody loved him. And I think to some point he's kind of underrated because he sort of just gave the Terps whatever they needed when they needed it. If they needed defense, he did that. If they needed rebounds, he did that. If they needed him to punch it up and score some, he did that. And really, right now, that's kind of what Maryland's sort of missing. They need an X factor right now, somebody to come in and give them something, give them a little bit of lift. You hope. I thought all along that guy down the stretch this year was going to be Checo, but he got hurt and he's out now, and you're hoping LG Gill is going to give him more than he has this season. Maybe Nickens is gonna get on fire here, but it's really been a struggle here lately for Maryland. They really are having trouble offensively, and you know what? They're just not as good defensively as they were earlier in the year either.
Well, you want to see these guys emerge and get better, and I think in Gary Williams' best years, guys got better. In Gary Williams' forgettable years, guys didn't get better. The X3 hips, you go through a number of guys that came in, you said, that guy's going to be special. The first thing I talked about, and I haven't watched them play as much over the last couple of weeks, where's Justin Jackson in all of this? Because to me, he was an emerging guy. Same thing with Herter with the young guys, but you'd like to think those guys would be better this time of the year than they were in November, December, and I guess for most people, they look more tired than they did in December.
Well, it's funny with Justin. He just seemed to lose his confidence shooting the ball. He if you're watching closely, he shot some air balls, when he's had open shots, and he went through a stretch there where he was just lighting it up, and, I don't know, to me, it's almost more of a crisis of confidence with him rather than anything people are doing different defensively on him. Now, I think they're doing some things differently with Melo and Anthony Cowan now, trying to keep them out of the paint and keep them off the free throw line. And to be honest, the whole problem boils down for this team, if you ask me, offensively, they just don't have any low post consistent scoring. Basketball is a simple game to me. It's a team that gets the most easy baskets certainly has the best chance to win. And Maryland doesn't get anything close to the basket. They can't play the inside-out game that Mark Turgeon's best teams have done. And to be honest, Gary Williams' best teams played that way too. They just cannot. They don't have a threat to get the ball into that can produce a basket and then suck the defense in and open the things up on the perimeter. And that's just been a glaring weakness this recent stretch here.
Well, then also the rebounding that goes along with that, right? If the big bodies aren't making it work inside, they at least have to be getting rebounds, especially offensive rebounds. And I know that's sort of where Melo got sideways with Turgeon a couple of games ago, getting out-rebounded, just getting embarrassed on the boards, quite frankly.
Well, this isn't a big team, and they've, I don't know. Early in the season, their quickness, I think, shocked a lot of people around the league. And now, teams have adapted to that. They found ways to you play more zone and keep Maryland outside. And yeah, who is the big rebounder here? Who's going to go in and Justin Jackson? I think was leading them with like 6 boards a game. But just look at him physically. You look around the rest of the Big Ten. There's a lot of big guys in this league. There are power forwards that put the power in power forward, and Maryland really doesn't have that kind of guy. And as we've talked a lot about DeMonte Dodd and what he does defensively, but they could use another big body or two right now. It looks like.
Well, and Dodd's no threat to score. To your point, right? When he gets the ball, it's the last thing in the world. It looks like he wants to do is shoot it.
Well, actually, that's Yvonne Bender, who you wince sometimes when he has the ball offensively because he won't even shoot a layup. He's trying to dump it off to somebody else. Yeah, I think Dodd has tried to be more of a threat this year. I have seen a little bit of improvement, but you're right. There are a lot of good big men when you look at like Swanigan and some of the other guys around the league here. DeMonte is not in that caliber of offensive player certainly, and that's again that has been a glaring weakness.
Next week, Mike Ashley, the Big Ten tournament comes to our neck of the woods for the very first time. And you talk about it, and any of the national pundits, and they start at this point, all the speculation begins about the big board and which 68 teams are going to wind up there. The Big Ten's almost a little bit of a laughingstock this year, right?
Well, and some of that was a scheduling situation when you look around the league. It's, Minnesota early on had played so many road games in conference, but you know what? That they've come on down the stretch. If you look what they've done, and this just in, it looks like Michigan State's trying to kind of put it together at the right time. Had a big win over Wisconsin, and of course everybody's jockeying for position. And the thing you got to worry about now, even before you think about the tournament, Maryland probably has to win one of the last 2 regular season games to hopefully keep a chance to keep that double bye that huge conference tournament format has for them. You look at these conference brackets now for the tournament, and it looks more like a arrivals and departures board at the airport. There's so many names on there and so many schools, but Maryland's still got a chance to get a double bye, in the tournament, and that could be huge for this team.
Well, and then there's this week, and then there's the schedule getting into the end of the weekend here with Rutgers. And look, some of these games look easy. There are no easy games. I guess we found that out when Penn State came in and beat them, right?
Yeah, Rutgers is playing a little bit better here lately. They've had 2 tough losses their last 2 outings, but they're at the bottom of the league for a reason. And Maryland had struggled with them a little bit, but then put them away. I think it was like a 12-point win, in College Park. And but Rutgers, this is a chance. They see a team with 20 wins coming in, and this is the kind of a game that you win late in the season and you write about all summer, and it gives you momentum going into next year. So I think this is a dangerous game for a much, much improved Rutgers program.
Mike Ashley covers all things Maryland for Terrapin Times, as well as his big gig with Blue Ribbon and doing the yearbooks and all the way around. And, so much of where Maryland's fate is here. We can talk about Rutgers and Michigan State. That's what's in front of them. Next week, they'll have games. They'll play. We'll see how they go. But, seeding and making the tournament and where they're going to be, whether it's with maybe they end the season 22-10 and lose 3 games in a row. I don't know. But when it all gets thrown, then all the balls get in the hopper next Sunday, and they need to come out of this thing with a seed, with a place to go, with some sort of a pathway. It really is going to come down to all these other conferences and how the Big Ten shapes up against the other conferences where, I said laughingstock, and that's probably harsh, but, this is not a glory time. And it was certainly for Tom Crean out in Indiana and for, some places at the bottom. Iowa very disappointing, as well as even Northwestern sort of disappointing toward the end here when they looked like they were going to be a better basketball team. All of these teams, have to get in. They have to make their hay. The NIT's not going to be good enough.
Well, that's true. That's true. The irony is that all season long, Maryland was such a darling, overachieving in most people's mind, and the rest of the league, what they've done, on an RPI level, the wins and losses, has probably, drug Maryland down. And now, of course, Maryland's struggling in league play, so they're not helping the cause either right now. And of course, in conference play, it's hard, particularly the way the Big Ten has shown this year.
Well, you just asked what is a quality win, and there are no quality wins inside the Big Ten because you can't get one, right?
Right. But Purdue and Wisconsin have been pretty consistent all year long. They're both above 20. Purdue, I think 23 wins now. Wisconsin at like Maryland at 22. But they more of a veteran team. I think they've got a proven pedigree. And again, I got to tell you, it really looks like Michigan State is starting to put it together at the right time, which is bad news since they're showing up. A senior day at Maryland here, but. Yeah, when you look at Miles Bridges and Nick Ward, two players like that they've got that are very explosive and starting to play. I know they have that McQuaid kid came off the bench and had a big game for them, which is added value for Coach Izzo, who always seems to get his team playing really well this time of year.
Mike, where's Melo Trimble in all this? Because that's going to be the big factor here. I mean, if they're going to go to the 16, if they're going to win a couple of games, if they're going to be effective next week down at the phone booth in their own tournament as they're hosting it, it really is about Melo Trimble. And the same sorts of things we saw last year for the whole team have happened again here. Not injury-related that we're aware of. Last year there was wide speculation about that hamstring injury in the back and how the shooting was different. Where are you on Melo Trimble at this point?
Well, it's the worst fear, but not for Melo individually. Melo is still a great player and can make plays, and he can still do a lot at just the right time. But the difference lately has been, where is the player with him hitting the threes? Whether it's Herter or Cowan or Justin Jackson making a play, where is that production coming to take a little bit of the heat off Melo? So that, you could see it in a lot of those close wins they had this year where it's like with about 4 minutes left, Melo flipped the switch and was a different player and just took games over. Right now, I think he's expending so much energy trying to help this offense get over the hump. And then, to be honest, teams are attacking him defensively too. He is still not the virtuoso defender, and that's a lot of the reason why he's back at Maryland this year. It's still a work in progress at that end for him, and there are a lot of big quality guards and teams that I think have done a great job of exploiting some of Maryland's weaknesses the last few weeks. Now that there's tape out on all these young guys and people know them a little bit better. But as far as Melo, you think about some of the great tournament runs teams have had. It can start at any time. And the Terrapins still have that formula with a veteran guard like Melo who can make plays. And then if you see some of these other guys start to get hot a little bit again, suddenly Maryland looks like a team that you don't want to see on your bracket line.
Well, and I guess for him with the NBA beckoning, and I mean, he's got a chance to make a lot of money or really have some. Anybody only have 4 games left in a Maryland uniform, right? I mean, literally, right? Like they have 2 this week. If they lose in a Big Ten game somehow, some way, and then they get into the tournament, sneak into the tournament on what would then be a 6-game losing streak. I mean, that's certainly possible. I don't think they're going to lose to Rutgers. I don't believe that, but I do believe that this thing is getting slippery pretty quickly, and that the fact that they got blown out at home by Minnesota and Iowa should be disconcerting to everybody. And I think, all the Maryland fans, I've been on the message boards, I'm on Facebook, there is grave concern here that this thing is flame out.
Well, but as fast as it turned off and they started having a little bit of trouble, if you go back, that 1-point loss to Purdue, where really it was anybody's game, a one-possession game, and then things turned sour, at Penn State, and I think they can rebound. That's probably a bad choice of words with this team. I think they can come back and make some hay here, because once they get out of Big Ten play, there's going to be teams that haven't seen them that are maybe going to have the same problems the Big Ten did early on, adjusting to the quickness of play that Maryland can bring. And, I look for Mark Turgeon to shake things up. I'd look for a little bit more pressure in the open court, some things like that, maybe try and get, more people involved different ways offensively. I'd look for maybe Herter. If teams man up on Maryland, which, they've seen more zone lately, but if they man up, Herter's a guy that could maybe go to the low block and get you a bucket here or there, and you could kind of fake having that inside presence.
Mike Ashley joining us here from Terrapin Times as well as Blue Ribbon. Last thing for you, expectations on the Terps clearly went through the roof at 20-2, now back down to earth after losing 5 of 7. What's your real expectation on this? What feels like a successful year to you at this point? Making the tournament, winning 2 games, just getting into the second weekend like they did last year, would that feel successful? I think it would.
Well, my worry now is they're gonna get a bad draw in the first round. They're gonna get dropped down to a lower seed than we certainly thought a few weeks ago, and it's going to be a tough go. I think 1 or 2 wins in the tournament would be a great year when you look at the injuries. They lost the 2 guys from their 8-man rotation in Dion Wiley and Tchaikovsky here. So you couple that with the fact that you're starting 3 freshmen. You're already sitting at 22 wins. So I don't see any way you couldn't say this season was a success. It's just been disappointing what has happened to the team's shooting and their defensive intensity the last few weeks.
Well, you become a victim of your own success, too. I mean, I've sat here talking about the Dallas Cowboys the last 6 months. No one expected them to be 13-3, but once they were, they had to win the Super Bowl. And I think nobody was expecting the Terps to be 20-2. But once you're 20-2, you should at least win your conference and not have a problem being a 4 seed or a 5 seed or something like that, right?
Well, you would hope, but again, you've coupled in the youth of this year's team, and I'll be honest, that they did it a way this year I didn't really expect. Again, I thought Michael Tchaikovsky was going to turn into a dynamo, and that was going to be a way that made them the good team this year. So I got to admit, I'm kind of amazed at the way they adapted without him. They've got more from Dodd and Bender than I would have expected, and certainly the freshmen, for the most part, have been great this year. Although I've never been a guy that believes in that freshman hitting the wall thing. I think there's more to it than that this year, but you could make that case that this season has gone on a little longer than some of these guys were prepared for.
All right, man. Well, buckle up, and it's going to be a little bumpy ride getting in the Big Ten. But Luke and I are coming down next weekend, so we're looking forward to some wall-to-wall basketball as we get on with the St. Patty's Day celebration and bracketology and all that good stuff. It's always great to catch up with you, Mike. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it'd be great for the Terps to have a home court advantage downtown. So get out there and root them on, guys.
Well, I don't know that everybody from Iowa is going to be showing up in D.C. either, but it is a nice road trip for a lot of those fans, right, that have never really sort of made that trip under these circumstances.
Right, and suddenly, Maryland went from the northern outpost, as Gary used to say in the ACC. They're a tropical locale in the Big Ten, so yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
Well, a lot of folks coming from the Chicago area and off the farms in the Midwest that like to travel with the teams, and they've been doing this thing in Chicago and Indianapolis forever, right?
They have, and anybody that's been around the Big Ten for a couple of years and seen the way some of these teams travel and the way they get supported, even the media that show up for things. This is a big deal, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. And you'd hope Maryland will put their best foot forward here, from the way the team plays to the way the fans come out and support them.
Let's see how they get after Rutgers and Michigan State this week. Mike, always a pleasure, man. Thanks for coming on.
All right. Thanks, pal.
Mike Ashley, Terrapin Times, as well as Blue Ribbon Yearbooks. You can check him out on the web as well. No one has been covering Maryland basketball longer or finer than he has. We're going to continue our coverage all week long with the Terps. We're talking some Caps, certainly talking some Wizards. They've won some games, and Steph Curry coming to town this week as well. We got the NFL Combine in Indianapolis, and the Orioles are on the fields down in spring training in Sarasota. I actually saw them play baseball on Monday against the New York Yankees. Who knew? Opening day a couple of weeks away as well. So plenty of baseball, basketball, football, hockey. What more could you ask for around here? Nasty at WNST.net reaches me anytime on email. I am a very available individual. I'm out on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, and of course, we stream live on our Facebook Live as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.